Okay, so as I was stating, this today's agenda is that I will be uh, sharing my Bitbucket credentials on the mail. Now, what is a Bitbucket credential? So, for example, I believe. So, just 1 minute. Uh, Participant. So, Smita, if you have to access the code which I am going to show to you, can you hear me, Smita?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have to access the code which I'm going to show into you, how do you do that? Okay, for that I have a tool called Bitbucket. So I believe you have done some kind of a development, yes?
Yes.
So I use a cloud-based version control tool, which is Bitbucket.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will
Mhm.
give you my credentials to access this. Okay,
Yes. Mhm.
so post classes, you can directly come here, take the code and use the way you want to use it. Fine.
Okay.
Same
Mhm.
for other people as well. I mean, please feel free to take the code from this repository. Okay. Then we are going to look at HTTP methods today. Okay. So yesterday we looked at HTTP. Then we still were remaining or pending to cover HTTP methods, which we will talk about today. Then we will have to do today a little bit of few downloads and setup, which one of them is Java download. Okay, then Eclipse download and SOAP UI download. So let us see how much time we will get. Now, the way we are going to do this is, in order to make it most effective, weekends we'll have sessions as we are already having, but on a weekday, when all of us agree, or maybe out of this session, if there are six people or seven people, whosoever agrees, we'll have a session on weekday as well to do some setup and troubleshooting issues as well. Because since we have only 2 hours on weekend, I don't want to spend that from a regular session. But for example, some of you are facing problem with setup and other stuff, so we will have a predefined meeting slot for maybe half an hour once or twice in a week to troubleshoot your problems also, so that you can make progress and I can also review your progresses as we move along. Okay, so we will agree upon all those things. Maybe I'll send out a mail or have a discussion in the chat, and we will see how we can or what day and time works out for all of us during weekday, and we'll try to do it 2 days in a week or one day as per your convenience and my convenience. Okay, so these credentials I will share with you, Sandeep and Smita and others also. Others I think so already have it, and Anamika, I'll share this with you as well. Now, how does it work? So let me show to you quickly. So let's say I'm going to show some coding also to you, and then the point is that, okay, now while we are talking, what we can do is, first half of the session is going to be theory, and maybe hopefully towards second half today we will be able to play around with some code also. So I'm sharing some links with you. Please start the download while the session is on. So currently, where you have to get the links for the download, I'm trying to consolidate all these resources in one common places. So if you go to tech resources, Java Selenium, there is a link here. Okay, for the time being, take the resources from here because they are common resources. Fine. Later on, I'll create a separate page for API resources. So for the time being, I'm sharing this link. So Smita, Sandeep, can you see this Java 8? Please click here and go to the link, and please download the Java JDK from here. Click on accept, and depending upon your operating system, whichever you have, please download this. This is one download you have to do. Second is download Eclipse Neon. So if you will click on this, it will take you to this link here. Download the first one, Eclipse IDE for EE developers, which is depending upon whichever operating system you have. Second, and third is download Notepad as well. Okay, download this third. So these three things, please start the download as we are having the session is in progress. And the fourth thing which you need to download is download SOAP UI. Okay, so please go ahead and download this link as well. I have still not put this link on what to say on this my website, but I'll do that maybe in a day or two. So I'm mailing this link. Uh, so just 1 minute. I'll share it with you all on the chat window. And another one I am sharing with you is this link. So please take this and start the download while the discussion is in progress. Okay, so with having said that, we will start. So I have sent you credentials of Bitbucket. Okay, so let me tell you how you will access my Bitbucket. So first of all, let me mail my credentials to you. So just 1 minute. I will credentials I'm mailing to you. So just 1 second. Okay, so uh, uh, just check your mail for the credentials, please, all of you. So, so if you will check your mail, there will be a mail wherein you have a URL, username and password. So can you all please quickly log in and tell me if you are able to log in with those credentials? I've sent the mail to all of you. Please do that quickly. Anamika, Kirti, Manjari, Sandeep, Shilpi, Smita, are you able to log in, all of you?
I will check later. Right now, I don't
Okay.
have laptop with me. Just
Oh,
accessing mobile only.
oh,
I'll
okay,
do it
fine.
later.
Yeah,
Later.
okay, you can try it out later then.
So you have shared SOAP UI
Yeah,
download link, right?
after that, there is one more mail, refresh your
Yeah,
mailbox.
yeah,
There is one
yeah.
more mail with the credentials. So generally this credential I keep changing once in a month. So in case you cannot access it, please ping me or drop me a mail. I'll share this once again. And then there is one more link from where you can get the resources for download. So please start the downloads and please do quick login and let me know so that I can proceed. Done, all of you. Please let me know quickly if you are able to log in into the Bitbucket.
Yes.
Okay. So is there anybody who's facing problem? Sandeep, okay, Sandeep doesn't have a laptop just now. So what about Smita? Smita and Anamika?
Yeah, I logged in.
Okay, great. Okay, now that we all of you have logged in, now let me show you how to access the code. Okay, so and this is important because we will do a lot of coding and I cannot mail the code to you every time uh, I show something here. I'll just put it in Bitbucket. You can refresh the browser and let me show that to you in action so that you understand what I'm saying. So I'm just starting my Eclipse. It's taking a little time. Just give me a minute. Okay. Okay. While it is coming up, there are a few more things I'm going to let you know that as the session progresses, what I'm going to do is I request all of you. I mean, of course, it's your choice whether you want to do it or not. I use this tool called Bookie. What is this? This is for bookmarking all the important links which I will eventually share with you. Okay, so you can define various categories here, like I have a dashboard for API testing where I have my API resources. Similarly, I have for Selenium automation, I have for my maybe another dashboard. So this is a very nice way of organizing your resources. So I have created one for API testing, which has some of the hyperlinks here, training resources and important links. I'll be using this resources links as a part of the session that I'm going to conduct. So please register here, because I'll be sharing a lot of links and resources, and it will become very overwhelming and difficult to track all of them in a mail or a text file, whatever you call it. So if you will register here, you have a nice way to create different categories. It's very simple to just check it out and start storing the links here. Okay, so having said that, let me come back to the Eclipse here. So let's say I'm going to show you some code today, and I hope all of you have started the download, right? Kirti and others,
Yes.
you have Eclipse, I believe, Shilpi, Manjari, but Anamika, Smita and Sandeep, okay, Sandeep does not have a laptop, but others, please start the download of the links while we are having discussion. If you still did not understand what to download, please ask me, I will help you with that. Okay.
Yes.
So let's say I'm making a small change in the code here. Let me go. Okay, don't worry about the details of the code. I'm just showing you how to use Bitbucket. So let's say this is a code which we will be playing around with, and you will be trying it out later on, maybe today or in next session. So let's say I have this file here. First of all, how do I access this project in the Bitbucket? Connect to tech.in SOAP RPC. So I'm going to go to this repository here, which is Bitbucket. Here I can maybe go to visit view all repositories, and let's say here I'll search for RPC. That is the name. So can you see this, all of you? SOAP RPC here, right? This is my repository. Now if I'll go inside this, I have the code. So let me first of all say /git.sh. Don't worry about the command which I'm executing. I'll explain all of that to you in some time. We'll have a separate session of a Git as well, so that you know how to check in, check out code from here. Now, if I refresh this, src main Java deployment back. Okay, so old web services. Okay, so let's say I have a file here, this file. Okay, let me first of all go to that file and show to you. So I go to the project. So if you will see here, it is src main java com c2t, right? So it is inside this src main java com c2t. I'm up till here. Until that, I'll go to a folder called ws. In that, there is a folder called soap1, right? Can all of you see that? Soap1. So I'll go inside that soap1. Right now, let's say I open this file, and don't worry about the code just now. I open this file for you, and here I make some change, and I put a comment here. This is a comment here, right? Now currently, let me open the file in front of you. If you will see this file, if you will come down, here, that is not visible, isn't it? Smita, Sandeep, currently it is not visible. But if I check it in this code here, fine. So then if you go and refresh this file again, it takes sometimes a little while. The changes will be reflected, and okay, it's taking, your branch is up to date. Just 1 minute. What I say. Okay, sometimes it takes a little while to init this. sometimes it takes a little while to get updated, but you will see the changes being reflected here in the file which is here. Okay. Did I save it? No. Oh, sorry, I did not save it here. It is star here. I forgot to save it. So let me save it and check it in the code again. I'll check in the file again. So now it is saying modified and it is getting checked in. Okay. So the change is gone inside. Now if I refresh this file here, okay, I might have to open it again. So I will close this. I'll refresh it here again. So can you see here, comment here, right? Sandeep and uh, Anamika and Smita, others, you are already aware of this. So this is how, whatever code I do in front of you, this is how you can get my changes. Now, how do I download this project? In order to download the project, once you log in with your credential, so you can go to this project here, root here, and you can go to downloads, right? And you can download the entire repository. So it will download the whole project as it is. So let's say I go to downloads here and I will create a folder, for example, API testing, TSTING, right? So once you go inside this, let me save the file here. Once the file is saved, it comes as a zip file. Okay. So just okay, the scanning is going on. Yeah, so you can unzip it, extract all. Okay, so you will have the code with all of you, whatever was there on Bitbucket. So same folder structure is here as well. As you can see, this was a structure on my machine. This is how you can download and start using it. Now, how to use it with Eclipse, I will tell it to you in some time, but is there anybody who has been able to successfully set up the Eclipse or download of Eclipse has done completed successfully? Anamika or Smita?
No, mine is still in progress actually. It's a little
Okay, fine.
slow.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Let it keep going on. Okay, so this is how we make use of Bitbucket. And we will get into more of it later on, but that is enough for now to allow us to move on to the next thing. So I have shared the credentials and you can, and I have told you how to access the code and how to download the code. Okay. So now let's get started with HTTP methods. So yesterday when we were having a discussion, yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, do you have these steps written somewhere so then just in case if we want to refer to?
Have what?
The steps that you just showed us, checking out the code from the repository.
Okay, so I will have a separate session of Git with all of you. Today I just showed you how to download the entire project. Okay, so
Okay.
as we move along, I'll have one session of half an hour or 1 hour to tell you how to make use of Git as well. But today's intention was not to tell you how to use Git, but how to directly access it via the browser
Okay.
and download the whole thing. Later on, we will have a session so that how you can put the code in Bitbucket and how you can check out the code from Bitbucket. We will do that maybe in next coming sessions. Okay. Yeah, so coming back, so yesterday when we were having discussion, so let me close all these windows. Okay, so while yesterday we were into session, last thing which we talked about was HTTP method, HTTP, and I told you that I will talk about HTTP methods as well. So we talked about all of this, what is HTTP request response, right? This I said last diagram here, I will cover it a little while later. Now, now I'm spending a lot of time on all of this theory in first one or two sessions is because all this will serve as a foundation when you start with your actual automation. So today I'm going to start with what is HTTP methods, right? Now, what is an HTTP method? Let's understand. So yesterday I told what is an HTTP. It's a protocol which we use for communication between client and server, right? That was very clear and obvious. Now when the client, so let me go back here. Okay, so let me come here. Services. Okay, so here, okay, this is the one we were looking at yesterday. So let me clear out all of this. Okay, so yesterday we talked about a couple of things, and I said that there is a client here, right? I said that there is a client here. So let me call it as a client. For the time being, we'll assume client to be a browser and server may be a Gmail or whatever you want to call it. So it is client and server. Okay, this I told yesterday, and I also said that it sends a request and it sends a response back. Okay, now it is not very straightforward that you send a request and you get a response. There are multiple ways of sending a request, right? Multiple ways meaning that your intention might be to maybe send the resource to the server, or maybe to get the resource from the server, or maybe to delete something from the server, right? Or maybe do other debugging or whatever stuff you want to do. So there are different methods available. Methods, or basically to put it in a layman's language, there are various mechanisms available via which client can communicate with the server using various HTTP method. Why it is called HTTP methods? Because the protocol of communication between client and server is HTTP, right? And under HTTP, there are a couple of methods. That is what we are going to talk about. So let's have a look at what is that. Again, you can download this notes from the website using PDF. In a couple of days, some of these resources is going to be password protected. I will share the password with you, but don't worry about that. I'll let you know when it becomes password protected. Okay, so set of common methods of HTTP 1.1. What is 1.1? 1.1 is a version of HTTP that we use. We have prior to this, there were other versions, but when 1.1 HTTP is getting used, is defined below, and this set can be explained based on the requirements. Okay, the method names are case sensitive and they must be used in uppercase. So let's look at the various method. Now for today's discussion, I'll focus mostly on get, head and post. Others we can visit later, and after looking at get and post, we'll also try some hands-on. Okay, because yesterday we spent the whole day with theory. Today I want to play around little with code as well. So what is get method? Get method is used to retrieve information from the given server using a given URI. So yesterday, if you people will remember that as the statement or the sentence here clearly says that you retrieve an information, right? So if I copy this, what is that? Copy image location. If I click it here, so if you will see, if I click here, Shilpi, if you will see that I'm typing this URL with the image name as well, right?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes.
So once I do this, what it is doing is it is getting that resource from the server. So this particular image is on this server of mine on certain location. So when I hit this URL, it is getting of that resource and displaying it on the browser for me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mm.
So this is what it is saying, that get method is used to retrieve information from the given server using the URI. Okay. Get request using get should only retrieve data and uh, should not affect other data. Now, as a good design principle, as a good design practice, when you are trying to test a get URL, one of the test case can be that it is only fetching the information and it should not be making change to the state of any information or anything or any resource on the server, right? Shilpi? So
Yes,
that is
sir.
what it is was meant by that, only retrieves data and should not affect. So let's say your developer gives you a web service to test, and it makes use of a get method. How to identify what it makes use of, I'll tell it in some time. So one of the a very good use case, and generally developer tend to do this mistake if the developer is not very proficient with web services, is that he will also perform uh, operation which will change the state of the resources on your server. Okay, so this could be a really very good use case to make sure that it only fetches information and not doing any change, right? Makes sense.
Yes, sir.
So now let me go to little bit details of get. So get retrieves data from server by specifying parameters in the URL portion of the request. Okay, so here I have specified the name of the parameter. The name of the parameter is the image. I can have few other things which we will look at it later, but for now I specified that parameter. This is the main method for document retrieval, or maybe image retrieval, or maybe you can download a PDF. So for example, a lot of times when you click on hyperlinks, it downloads PDF, Word document. All those methods are get methods. Okay. Following example makes use of get method to fetch hello.html. Now, this gets technical discussion now. So, okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a SOAP web service. Okay. So I'll show it to you using Eclipse, and then I'll also show it to you using SOAP UI. Okay. So you will not actually be responsible for writing the code, but uh, the code I will provide to you. You just have to run the web services. So once you download the code and import it in your Eclipse, which I will tell you how to do, or maybe later today, or maybe when we have that half an hour session on the weekdays. So you will let me start the service first. So what I'm doing is, so let's say Shilpi, you want to you have to call a service, right? So service first of all should be running, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is, here I'm running that service. Yeah. So services is up and running. Okay. Now when the services is up and running, you can actually call the service, right?
Okay.
So let me run a program to call the service, and you do not have to worry about what is in the program, because that is something you will not most of the time do. You will just be running the code. What goes inside is not going to be your problem. So let's run this program. Okay, now this program, uh, what it does is it I have written some code so that it shows a request which goes to the server and response that comes back. Okay, now to make it even simpler for you people to understand, we are going to make use of SOAP UI. Okay, so what is a SOAP UI? SOAP UI is a tool which is used for testing purposes, for manual and automation testing. I'll show that to you in some time. But before we do that, this is the request which is going to the server, right? This is the request which is going to the server. And I hope you remember, yes, from yesterday's discussion, Silpi, that I told that the request which goes, it goes as a SOAP message, right?
Yeah, in XML form.
Yes, it's a XML file which is a SOAP. So uh, this is that XML file which is going to the server. So let me copy it and put it in a request.xml. Okay, so I'll open this. I'll put it here. So if you will remember from yesterday's discussion, I told you that there is an envelope. Envelope has an optional header and a body, right? Yes. So if you will remember here, I told yesterday when I was talking about this API automation. Yeah. So if you will come down here, this one was HTTP methods API. So in this diagram, here I showed to all of you this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that right, Smita? So if you will
Yes.
see this, so there was a soap envelope, there was an optional header and a body. So I have just executed
Mhm.
or sent a request to web service, and this is the code generated internally. Don't worry how it is generated, it's some programming, but I took that and I have put it in an XML file. And if you'll see the structure, it really complies with what we had agreed yesterday, that there is an envelope, there is a body, right? There is an optional header which is not currently present, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, like a request is there, I also said that there is going to be a response also, right? So in that response, so let me open this console. Okay, in the response, which is the second part of it, I'm going to put it in response file here. Okay, I'll put this, I'll delete this is additional code. So that, can you see the format of the response also, Smita? That it is
Yeah.
envelope, body, and
The
the,
same format.
yeah. So what I
Mhm.
had stated, or what we had studied yesterday, that there is a envelope, header, body, and there was a tag called fall tag. We will see that as well in some time. Okay, so don't worry about it. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tool, or we are going to make use of a tool called SOAP UI. Okay, SOAP UI is a tool which we are going to study as a part of this course. Using this SOAP UI tool, we will see that how, I mean, currently, since you are from testing background, you wouldn't be able to figure out much of this, right? I mean, and you are not going to look at code anyway. So our focus is going to be on just sending requests, getting the response, but let's see how we can do with SOAP UI. Okay, so I have already shared a link with all of you to download SOAP UI. Now, once the SOAP UI is downloaded, it's an executable. You have to double click, install next, and choose the default installation. Okay. If in case you people face problem, as I told you, we will meet sometime towards the weekday, and I'll help you out with that. But let's say that your SOAP installation is done successfully. Okay, so a screen like this will open up. Okay, now we are initially looking at SOAP REST service, SOAP web services. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a project. So I'll click here on SOAP and I'll give it some name. Okay, SOAP. Now, but before I do that, there is something more you need to understand. Okay, how do I access the project from here? So now, suppose let's say Smita, you are in Canada and I'm here in India, right? You write, let's say I write
Yeah.
a web service. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
after I write a web service, how do you come to know that there is a web service that is available and you can make use of? Okay. So what I have to
Yeah.
do is there are
Actually, your voice is cracking. I'm not able to hear you properly now. There's a
okay.
disturbance.
Is
Hello?
it, so yeah, hello.
Hello?
Are you also facing problem?
No, I can hear you. Like intermittently, I face, but as of now,
Maybe
I'm
there's
here.
problem at my end then. Maybe.
Yeah, can you reconnect, Smita? I will wait for you to rejoin.
Yeah, yeah. I will try 1 second.
Yes, I will wait. Please rejoin. Meanwhile, can you can hear properly, right? Kirti, Anamika, and others.
Yes.
Okay. Smita, can you hear now better? Hello, Smita.
So she's not yet in.
No, she joined it.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear better now?
Yeah, much better now.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay,
Sorry
so
about that.
that's okay. So as I was telling all of you in the first session when we started, I told that, Preeti, I hope you remember, I said that SOAP architecture is a complex architecture, remember?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me go to Google and search for again a calculator web service. So CLCULATOR online calculator web service. So let's say this is a web services that has been written using SOAP, and it provides three functionality to do testing for add, divide, and multiply and subtract. Right now,
Yes.
let's say I have written this service, but how do you know how to call that web services, right? So there is a concept called WSDL. There is a concept of WSDL in the case of a SOAP web services. Let's look at what is that. So WSDL is an XML based file, means written in XML, which basically tells the client application what the web services does. So let's say, for example, if I go back here in my drawing board, if this is a web services calculator, let's say calculator web service is written, the client is any program which should know that what is the name of the web services available and how to access them, isn't it, Kirti? I mean,
Yes.
the program at the client end should know how to call them and how to use them eventually, isn't it? So
Yes.
in order to do that, the person or the, so let's say you are a QA, you are an automation tester now. You will when web services like calculator is provided to you, you can ask the developer or the person or the company who's providing the web services that can you please share the WSDL of that file. What is a WSDL? WSDL stands for Web Service Description Language, and it has all the details of the web services. So let's say in this example here, the web services is calculator. Let me open the WSDL of that. So this is a pretty complex file, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can
So
you
how
see?
did you open the file?
Right. Yeah. Click on this service description.
Okay.
Right click and open in new tab. So this is the web service,
Okay.
right? So now it has a lot of tags. Let me minimize all of that, or let me. So truly speaking, this is pretty overwhelming piece of code, and if you have to read this, it can be a difficult thing to understand, right? But actually, you have to learn to understand this. And don't worry, I will not let make you learn all of this. There is a better way of handling it. But at least let us look at some tags which are available here. So coming back, WSDL file is used to describe in nutshell what web services does and gives client all the information required to connect to web service and use all the functionality that is provided by the web services. So basically, you don't have the code with the for the web services. You only have WSDL, and from the WSDL only you can know what you can do with the web services, right, Kirti?
Yes.
So at least we have to have some kind of an idea of what goes in WSDL. So let's look at the structure of WSDL first of all. So WSDL document is used to describe web services. The description is required so that client application are able to understand what the web services actually does. Okay. WSDL file contains the location of web services. Okay. So this is the first point. Location meaning you have to type a URL, right? You have to type this URL, for example, that which web service you have to call, right? And methods and the methods that are exposed. The methods in this case are, for example, here they are add, divide, multiply. But what is the actual name, whether it is add numbers or what is the name of the method, all that will be available here in the WSDL. Okay. So WSDL file uh, WSDL file itself looks very complex to any user, but it contains all the necessary information that any client client application would require to use the relevant service, right? Now, following is the basic structure of a WSDL file. Now, what I'm going to do is, in order to make it, maybe some of you must be overwhelmed by looking at this file in front of you. So let's do one thing. I'm going to, okay, now one thing I forgot to tell you, and which I'm reiterating. So I started this web services some time back, isn't it, Kirti?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I start this web services, this is running on this particular URL. Okay. So if I copy this URL, here, and let me copy this URL here, and after that, if I put question mark WSDL and hit enter, this actually gives me the WSDL file. If you will see here, this is also question mark WSDL. So the web services is hosted here. Question mark WSDL will actually give the WSDL file of that particular web services, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. Is it clear to others as well, guys? Is this point clear? Smita, Manjari, Sandeep, can you
Yeah.
please acknowledge? Okay, great. Now I'm not going to trouble you to understand this WSDL. Let's do it in a different and an easier way. Okay. So what I will do is I'll go to my SOAP UI. I'll go to my SOAP UI here. This tool. Once you open, you will have an editor like this. So click on SOAP. Why SOAP? Because we are working on SOAP web services. So I'll call it SOAP hyphen session. We are having session 2. This is for add user.
Calculation.
Okay, you can give any name of your choice. Now in this browse button, I'm going to put my WSDL. This is the one which I have locally on my machine. I'll copy this WSDL and then I'll put it here. Right, Kirti, so far?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll say okay. So now what it will do, this particular tool, which is SOAP UI, will nicely tell me all the methods which are available. One is, these are the methods: add person, delete person, get person, and get all. Right? Can you see? Now I did not have to trouble myself to understand this entire WSDL myself. By opening in SOAP UI, all the information is available to me here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So add person, what is add person? Add person is a web service. If I click on the request, so now let me unmute. Manjari, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's look at, so there are 4 web services available to me. What are those, Manjari? Add person, delete person, get all persons, and get person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you told me yesterday that you have a thick client, it sends a request. So that thick client, if it calls add person, there will be a form where you will enter the name of the person, ID of the person, age of the person, and then you'll hit add, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And some time back, I also told, and today and yesterday, that when you are sending the request from client to the server, from the request from the client to the server, it goes in an XML format. So you will see that the request to add a user in the system using SOAP web services is going as a SOAP,
XML.
yes, SOAP XML with an envelope. Header is optional, so it is empty. Then it has a body, right? Body has a person and the argument that should go, isn't it? So
Yeah.
let's say I put here age is 10, ID is 100, and name is API1, I will put. Fine. Now, how do we execute this? Can you see this arrow here, green color arrow?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm clicking on this particular green color arrow. I'll hit here, Manjari. And can you see that true is coming here? We get to see a true here.
Yeah. Correct.
Means it has got successfully added. Now, we will do assertions and all that maybe later today or in the next session, but this is the request which went to the server as a SOAP, and this is the response which is coming, which is again a SOAP message format: envelope, body, and the content of the body, right? So request is a SOAP, response is a SOAP, and in the response I'm getting something called true. Yes, anybody has any doubt so far? Yes, Shilpi, what is your question? Shilpi, you can unmute yourself, Shilpi, and ask a question.
Uh,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
no issues. So that WSDL file for that calculator one, there was a separate link, service description. So we using that we access that WSDL file. But then further, how you open that
Okay.
further?
For now, give me some time. I will tell you about the calculator also. But for now, I'm looking at the one which is locally on my machine.
Okay, but then let's suppose there is some XYZ application. So exactly how to access visual file for that?
So this
Just
WSDL URL will be provided to you by the developer.
okay. I
So
thought that question mark and then any link. Then if we are adding question mark and WSDL in front of it,
no,
will
so
it be navigated?
yeah, so the whole URL will be provided to. So this whole thing will be shared with you by the developer, saying that this is the WSDL of this particular file. So,
Okay.
so you have to type the whole URL in the browser to get the WSDL. And same thing when I was opening SOAP UI, I had typed that whole URL, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
So sometimes if he gives only up till here,
And one more
yeah,
query.
one second, one
So
second. So if he gives only up till here, you can say question mark WSDL, so that you know the actual WSDL of that particular web service.
okay.
Yeah. What is your next question?
And the service, the methods like add user, delete, that is something the SOAP UI file will read from this WSDL and will make it automatically. I mean, that
Yes,
will be
yes.
created
Yeah.
automatically.
So SOAP UI is not a file; it's a tool. Okay. SOAP UI tool reads the WSDL, and in a nice manner, it will show you. I mean, we are not done with the discussion of WSDL. I'll talk more about WSDL in some time. But I just showed you that with the SOAP UI, and this, if you had to read this, it will be a nightmare. It's a very simple application, but for complex application, reading a WSDL file can become a big pain, right? So if you open the WSDL in the SOAP UI, you can see that there are 4 methods to be used, and it is as simple as that. And if you click on this request here, it shows the format of the request which goes from the client to the server, right, Shilpi?
Okay.
Yeah. Same way, if you have to delete, what is the request will go, right? So let me come back here. So this is the one we looked at, wherein I added and I got a true. Yes.
Okay.
Now, if you will see here, XML is highlighted. If I click on raw, can you see my mouse here at the raw?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, others also, I hope I'm moving my mouse here at raw. If I click here, can you see the raw message which is going? Smita, there is a disturbance at your end, Smita, some echo. Is it, can you Shilpi hear raw?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, now remember a little while back, I was talking about few methods. Yes, HTTP methods. Just 1 minute, guys, Smita. There is. So I need so Kirti. So can you see this raw message?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Now let's try to understand a little bit of this. Why? Because you should know how the communication is happening between the client and the web services, right? Okay, fine. Okay, Smita, I'll mute you. There is a disturbance, but if you have any doubt, please let me know. You can unmute and ask. Meanwhile, so Kirti, this, what is the method which is being used? Can you see here?
Yes.
What is the method? Method is post, right?
Yes.
So, and it is hitting this URL, meaning that the web service is hosted on http://localhost 888889/ws. So this is the /person. This is where it is hosted, and it is making use of HTTP protocol version 1.1. Right? So this is what is meant by, so this is the raw format of the message which is getting transmitted. So let me now, so now that you have seen this raw message, let me come back to this discussion which I left last time. So so there is a get method. Can you see? Get method is used to get resources from the internet. I will talk about this in some time, but for now, since you have seen post, let's discuss about post, right? You saw here post, isn't it?
Yes.
So what is post? Post method is used when you want to send some data to the server. So what did I send the data? I send this data to the server, right? Yes, user details I have sent, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so since I have sent the user data, here, Manjari, so therefore post method is used when you want to send user data. For example, update a file or form data. Form data means the user data which I have sent. The following example makes use of post method to send form data to the server, which will be processed by some process, whatever it is, and finally response will be returned. So this is the request which I sent. This is the response which I got, right, Manjari?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now what does each of this parameter means? Now don't worry too much about that, but if you can know it, I will briefly explain some of this. The more you know about it, the better tester you will be, right? So let me explain few of this, the raw data. When the data is being transmitted, what is all this happening? So for that, I will be referring to some links, and I'll share this with you as well. Okay, so there are some headers available. Now don't get scared by looking at so much information. It takes a little while to understand and learn a technology, but if you will see, there are so many, can you see header fields?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of header fields. Now what is the purpose of this header field? Header fields are the fields which, when a client sends a request to the server, it is like address of that the server where it has to go and other relevant information, isn't it? So one of them which we see is, let's say, content length, right? So content length is the length of the content which is getting transmitted from the client to the server, right? Host is localhost on port 8899, right? Accept encoding is there. So these are some information which is transmitted from client to server. So if you want to know about this one, accept encoding, what is that? ACCEPT encoding. Okay, what is accept encoding? This is a parameter which is sent from the client to the server, and the purpose of this is that uh, use gzip or deflate. Gzip and deflate, meaning that when the data is transmitted from client to server, zip the data and transmit it to the server, and then deflate it at the, or unzip it at the server side. So these are internal things which are happening in the background. If you want to read more on this, please feel free to come here and I'll give you one more link. But for now, I'll not jump into a lot of details of this, otherwise we'll not be able to come to the correct discussion. So for example, I was talking about, what was that? Accept encoding. If I copy and search it here, okay, it's not here. Okay, so basically what I'm just trying to say is, if you want to read more on this, you can search for a list of acceptable encoding. Means when the data is transmitted from client to server, what are the encodings allowed? Okay, so you should be aware of this raw data format that you see in front of you. So coming back here, so are we good so far? Smita, Kirti, Sandeep, Shilpi, Anamika?
Yes.
Anamika, are we good so far?
Yes, we are good.
Great. So now that we have seen sending of a request, now like a request I have shown in the raw format, similarly response is also there in raw format. Can you see the raw format? Now here there is something called HTTP 1.1 200 OK. Now what is this 200 OK? It is the status of the response. Okay, so once you send a request from the client to the server, it sends you a code with status. Okay, there are multiple HTTP status. One of them is 200. 200 means everything is okay and you have got back the correct response. So let's Google and say what is HTTP code. Okay, if I hit enter, so these are the list of codes. There will be like many of them. You don't have to know all of them right away. But can you see here, Namika, that there are so many 100, 101, 102, 200 is okay, right?
Yeah.
So if you will see here, I'm getting 200, which is saying that request processing is done successfully and response is ready to be transmitted from server to the client, right? So standard response for successful HTTP request, the actual response will depend on request method used, right? A lot of times we say page not found, or page expired, right? Yeah, when you try to hit a web service, you may get a error message, page not found. The error code will be this one. Sometimes you also get 500 error messages. So these are some of the not found. Okay, so a lot of times, Manjari, we also tend to get this page not found, right? 404 errors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are all the codes, HTTP codes, which are available, or which state, these are the statuses which is sent by the server to the client based upon whether the request is fulfilled or whether it is failed or whether you are not authorized to perform that operation. So these are some of the methods that are available. I'll share this link also with you later. So I'm adding it here to the bookmark. Fine. Is it clear so far, guys, girls? Any doubt? I can take any question. Sandeep, since you don't have a laptop, so I'm not unmuting you since you are on mobile. But I hope it is clear, Sandeep. Okay, fine. Okay, great. So guys, what we will do is, let's take a first break for 10 minutes. We'll break for 10 minutes. You can freshen up or drink water or do whatever you want to do. We'll meet after 10 minutes. I'll start a stopwatch and then we will come back and continue in 10 minutes. guys, girls, let me know if you people are back. Anamika, Kirti, Manjari, Sandeep, Smita.
Back, sir. I'm back.
Okay. Others, please acknowledge quickly. You can message
Yes.
also and let me know on the chat also. Let me know if you all are back. Smita, there is some disturbance when you're speaking. Maybe you can. Smita, I'm muting you. Actually, there is some background echo, but I hope you are back, Smita. Sandeep, Sandeep, and okay, I hope all of you are back. Anamika, I hope you are also back. Guys, please quickly acknowledge. I want to start. Okay. Sandeep,
Yeah, Amen.
okay, fine. Okay, so please understand one thing that please do not get overwhelmed by the information I'm sharing with you. Things will happen slowly. Okay. And as I have already told you, I am able to tell you the architectural and low level details of API because I am from development background, and trust me, all of this will help when you start become writing good API testing. All this will come very handy. I mean, uh, this is some information even where a lot of developers are even not aware of. But to be a good automation tester, especially for API, knowing all this information will definitely be very useful. Plus, as I had already explained to you yesterday also, that API, I mean, of course, Selenium is in huge demand, but API is one thing which is responsible for testing the core product. Okay, so your ability to write good API automation testing is definitely going to help you grow well in your job profiles. Okay, now what we will do is we have already spent yesterday and today doing a lot of theory. So is there somebody in the session who has been able to download Shilpi, did you download the SOAP UI? Is it downloaded? Shilpi?
So, no, it's still in progress, but then I am having Sophia in my system, I think,
Okay,
already.
okay, that's great then. So what we will do is I want to be able to let you people know. So you have Eclipse already, right, Shilpi?
So
And
which
Yes,
version you are
sir.
expecting for SoapUI?
sorry,
Version?
for now any version will do, but if you have the latest, that will be good.
Okay,
Okay.
it's showing 5.5.
Yeah, that is fine. Any version will do. I mean,
I'm having I'm having 5.2.1 in my system, which
that's
is
okay.
already there,
Okay, fine.
and the recent one is still in progress.
Okay.
Downloading is
So,
still in.
so what we will do is, okay. Apart from that, Kirti, did you download? Are you able to download?
Yes, sir. I downloaded it and I tested also. I put that
Okay, you
WSDL.
installed it also.
Yeah.
Okay, I was waiting. Anamika, what about you? Okay, you also have a Sophia. Okay, so my intention was that that I could show installation also in one of your machines. So what we are going to do now is, Shilpi, you have a SOAP UI, and
Yes, sir.
oh, just 1 minute. So what we are going to do now is, in order to make you understand what I have been doing, I mean, doing is one thing, plus making you do is another thing. So Shilpi, can you please share your screen? And what we will do is that I'll tell you how to download the project from Bitbucket. You will set it up and we'll run it on your machine, and then we'll try to access it via SOAP and try to send add user and delete user and all that.
Okay,
We'll try
sure.
next. half an hour or 45 minutes. Okay, so
Okay.
for the people who have never used Zoom before, you can also share your screen. Fine. So Shilpi, please share your screen.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so what we will do is, okay, so first of all, wait, okay, you can launch your SOAP UI, but first of all, can you go to Bitbucket?
Bitbucket. I haven't logged in yet. Let
Okay,
me.
please log in quickly. I have shared the credentials on the mail. Please do that. So what I'm trying to show to you is that what entire cycle of how you are going to, uh, and guys, please avoid prompting this password window on the video because it is getting recorded and it will be otherwise visible to everyone. I'll change this password and share to you, share with all of you, but in future, please don't bring it in your screen in the foreground.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, continue and log in. Ignore this update for now, ignore this. Okay, continue here. First log in into this one, Shilpi Bitbucket. Okay, so the purpose of this exercise is basically, I hope Smita, you are following Anamika, others also. So what we are doing is, I'm telling you how to download the code. Okay, so once you log in here, Shilpi, what you have to do is, now first of all, go to any drive, Shilpi, and create a folder and call it API automation. That is the location where we'll keep our automation API related files and folders and every download that we do. So can you go to your C drive or D drive and do it for me?
Okay.
Yeah, so right,
Automation.
yes,
What
API
you said?
automation, API
Okay.
automation, created without spaces. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, now go back to the browser and download that, go to that project.
Sir, it's all blank here.
Okay, it's because of her internet speed, Shilpi. Okay, what we will do is, I'll try it on Kirti's machine. Maybe she is in US, she has good internet speed. So Kirti,
Okay.
can you stop sharing your screen, Shilpi? Yeah, Kirti, can you please share your screen? Kirti, can you hear? Okay, fine. So what we'll do is, Kirti, go to Bitbucket first of all.
Hmm.
Go here, okay. Now go to that basket left, top left, click on that. Okay, after you do that, go to the SOAP RPC, the first project, click on that. Now before you do anything, go to your Windows Explorer ID drive and create a folder, call it API automation, anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is fine. Yeah, now go back to the browser and click on downloads on the left side, down. Yeah, click here, download repository, and okay, open that containing folder. You could have actually gone through, okay, fine, any way you want to. Yeah, yeah, copy this, copy it or cut it and put it there in the folder. Yeah, paste it here, unzip it, extract it. say extract. Okay, now I'm taking control for some time. So give me
Okay.
the control. Okay, now what I'm doing is I will just go here and I will rename it to I don't need this. This is some code which is auto generated. I don't need all that RTC, right? So this is the name of project. I mean, you can keep the same name, but that is a random number which I don't like, so I'm removing it. So now, can you copy this? Copy it. Copy and go to API classes and paste it there. One level up, go to API classes and paste it. Yes, paste it here.
Where?
Yeah, here only, here in this folder, API classes, right? Now, if you want to keep the old one, you can keep it. Otherwise, you can delete the, paste it here.
Okay.
No, the name should, when cancel it, go inside that folder. Yeah,
Okay.
copy this and paste it here. And I just want to have that random name, right? Now let me take control. Now go inside this folder, the first one. Yeah, and copy this path from the address bar, copy that path.
SRC.
No, not before SRC, not a, not whole SRC, but before SRC.
8 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
copied it.
okay, and okay, go open your Eclipse.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I think I closed it.
Okay, so what we are now trying to do is we will open this project, which is a web service small project. It's a very small, we'll look at complex one later on. So we are trying to open it in Eclipse and we'll run the web service and then we'll use SOAP UI to call the web services, right? So maybe you can spend some time during this week to play around with these things which we are discussing here. Okay, and I'm doing it on your machine, Kirti, so that I mean other people can also see
Yeah.
how they would have to do it. So all of this will be available in recording after half an hour or so. So please follow the video and try out the things which I'm trying on Kirti's machine. Okay, now go to file option, maximize, first of all maximize the window. Yeah, maximize it. Okay, go to file. Do a little slowly, Kirti. File, slowly go to import option. Import. Yeah. Now wait there. Yes. Now click on that. So just do a little bit slowly, okay, because it is getting recorded.
Okay.
Now here type existing, EXISTING. Type, yeah, here existing. So can you see
Existing.
that option, existing project in workspace?
Yeah.
Double click that. Double click it. Yeah. Now control V here, the path which you had copied earlier. So control V here and tab out. Click on tab button, tab key. Okay, and
Yeah.
then finish. Okay, so what you have done is you have downloaded my project from Bitbucket and you have imported or opened in your Eclipse. That's all you have done so far, right? So can
Yeah.
you see at the top there is a project connect to text SOAP RPC. Expand that. One second, Kirti, just 1 minute, okay? So first of all, I'll close all the windows. Okay, now go to src main Java, go to SOAP1, com c2ws SOAP1. Yeah, go here, go to SOAP publish, show publisher.java. Yeah, double click on that. Yeah, so this is that same code which you were seeing in my machine. Okay, now right click on the file and say run as Java application. Run as Java application. Okay, so now what is happening or what is going to happen is that service is running on your local machine. Fine. Now, can you see that HTTP colon blah blah all that? Can you copy that whole URL and open it in browser and at the end type question mark WSDL in caps uppercase question mark WSDL. Hit enter. Right. So this is the same WSDL which you were seeing on my machine. Is that right, Kirti?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, before we move ahead, I want to know if everybody is doing fine so far. Guys, can I get a acknowledgement from all of you? Guys, girls, any problems so far? A quick acknowledgement will help on the chat, not on the voice. Only Manjari has said, please come quick, Anamika, Sandeep, Shilpi, Smitha. Okay, Sandeep, okay, Anamika, Shilpi, I hope you are good, right? Shilpi, okay. Sandeep, I am hoping you are also fine since you don't know, you can't type.
Yeah.
Okay. So so far what we have done is we have started running the web services and we have accessed the WSDL, right? Now, Kirti, please open SOAP UI tool. Okay. Now here, what we are going to do is, yeah, you can close this for the timing. Click on the SOAP icon. So for some of you who might be using earlier version, please upgrade to latest version. I mean, you can keep the older one also. Yeah. So please do slowly. Okay, Kirti. So click on SOAP. Yes. And give it any name. So you can call it my first SOAP. Yeah, SOAP1. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. So give it any name of your choice. Yeah, and in the initial WSDL, copy that URL from the browser and type it here. Okay, paste it and say okay. Okay, so now just 1 minute, Kirti. I will. Okay, so minimize that SOAP test. First of all, minimize it. Yeah, yeah. So now, if you will see, you have opened that SOAP web services using the SOAP UI, right? I mean, you do not have to bother. I mean, I'll talk more about WSDL maybe either today if time permits or in next session. But as you can see, so Kirti, now go back to your browser and search for Control F and search for add person, ADD. It's here at the top, right? So there are some methods available: get all persons, add person, right? Delete person. All these methods which are actually exposed as a web services to you, all of that you can see in the SOAP UI. Kirti, go back to SOAP UI. Right now, expand add person. Right, click on request, double click there. Right, so this is the same thing which I was trying to show to you. Right, so
Yeah.
Kirti, add a person, add age, ID, and name, and let's see what happens. Okay, and hit on that arrow, green arrow. Okay, so if you will see here now, let me take control, Kirti. Give me the control. So if you will see here, guys, that guys and girls, that this left is the SOAP envelope, which I have already shown to you, which now we are trying on Kirti's machine, and this is the SOAP response, right? This is the raw message. If you click here, all these things I have already shown to you, and this is basically how we. This is just starting of a discussion around SOAP web services, right? So you have added a person already. Now go to what was the ID of the person you added? It was 18, age, ID is 123, and name is name1, right? Now how do you fetch it? So go to get person, Kirti, again. On the left, get person, click on request. Yeah, double click. So this is the double click. Okay, so this is the SOAP format of the person which you want to get. So enter 123 here in the place of argument 123 and click on that arrow button. Okay, so it fetches you that details, right? So it's a SOAP request which you have sent and the response which you have get with the details of the person, right? Now enter some wrong ID, make it 125 or any invalid value. 125, okay, 126, click on that. Yeah, so do you see that? Remember, I also talked about fault code in the first session. Remember that there's a header, there is a body. Body has fault code also. I hope you remember from the first discussion in the, if you don't remember, so whenever there is an error message, there is a fault tag also available. Can you see this, Kirti? Stating that
Yes.
you don't have a valid data corresponding to the data which you have input here. Right? Now, let's try to delete the person. So go to delete persons on the left.
Sir, here also we are getting 500. Huh?
Yeah, so 500 is an internal server error, meaning that there is some error and it cannot service this request, right? So sometime back I showed you the HTTP code. Right?
Yes.
In the case when it is successful, it is 200, and for any other problem that happens, there is a code available, HTTP code available, and you can make use of that code to perform all your or understand what has gone in the background.
Okay.
Yeah. Now go to delete. Before that, go to get all persons. Get all persons. Expand it. Click on the request. So this will get everything. So just right click and run it or hit at the arrow. So currently there is only one, right? If you add one more, can you add one more person to the system? Okay, so first of all, add with the same ID. Add it with the same ID. Initially it was 123, right? So let's add it with the same ID and hit arrow, green arrow. What does it give? So it returned a false. Okay, wait, it returned a false. Earlier it returned a true, right? So as a part of testing, these are all valid use cases. Now put a valid ID instead of 123, put something else. Yeah, and now run it. Right, so it returned true for you, isn't it?
Yes.
Now go to get all persons. Click on that arrow. It will give you list of all the persons. Can you see item 1 and item 2 are there?
Yeah.
Yes. Now go to delete operation. Okay. Now in the delete, enter this is ID of a person. So first enter invalid ID, enter 100. So it is false, means it is not deleted. Now enter 123 and hit again right? It is true. Now go to get all persons and hit, you will get the only single item. Initially there were two, now the hit arrow, right? So basically
Yeah.
now you have a fair idea of, or a simple idea I would say rather, to begin with, that how you perform various operations. So a use case can be when you add it, whether it is added, whether you, when you delete it, whether it got deleted, right? So a test case can be combination of you perform a add and verify it got added, or when you fetch a person with valid ID or invalid ID, or getting all persons, or deleting a person and then it is getting deleted successfully. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Now, uh, okay. So what I will do is, so what I will expect all of you to uh, do after today's session is at least be able to, I mean, although it is not very difficult, but please get yourself to a state where you are able to run a web service, which I have shown to you. Okay. So for that you will need Java, Eclipse and SOAP UI, and please play around with what we have just tried in front of you in this machine, right? Now, so let me come back. Kirti, can you stop sharing?
Yes.
Okay, now although I have shown you UI and SOAP UI, and once you have SOAP UI, you would never actually worry about understanding what is in WSDL, which is a complex piece of code, isn't it, Kirti? Now that you know SOAP UI is there, you don't want to read this. You know the methods and you know the
Yeah.
format of, but still, since we are venturing into field of automation, and I believe that just a little bit knowledge wouldn't harm. It will only help to write good
Mm.
test cases eventually. So let's then spend a little time understanding this WSDL file. I'll not bore you people to death, but at least let's get some idea of this particular file. Okay. So uh, what I'm going to do is, okay, let me minimize all of this. So this is a sample file which I have deployed on Kirti's machine, and I have shown to all of you how you can do it. So for the theory part, I'll again come back to this one. Okay, now this WSDL file, WSDL file itself can look very complex to any user, but it contains all the necessary information that any client application would require to use. Okay, now why should we understand the WSDL file, Kirti and others? Is that maybe Sandeep, Shilpi, Smita, because not always you will have a SOAP UI allowed to be installed on your local machine, isn't it, Kirti? A client, if it's a client
Mm.
machine, or it's a it's a company where you cannot install any other software, you should have some idea of what WSDL looks like, isn't it?
Mm.
So below is the general structure of a WSDL. It has a definition, target namespace, data types, message, port type, binding. So let's look at some of this. One key thing to note here is the definition of message, which is what is passed by the SOAP protocol is actually defined in the WSDL document. WSDL document actually tells client application. So all this you can read. Now first is the types. So let's look at under definitions, we have types. So let me search for this types here. So can you see the types, Kirti, highlighted?
Yes.
Yeah. Under the types, let me expand. Okay, under the data type definition. So okay, I just expand all of it. Okay, this types, I will come to this in some time. Before that, let's look at message. Okay, so message is, if you will see, this is the add person method was available to us, right, Kirti? Add
Yeah.
person method was. So what is a message basically? Message is the definition of the data which is being communicated. No, there is some problem in this WSDL structure. Just 1 minute, okay? I think so. This is not correct here. WSDL, okay, I think so. There is some mistake there. I need to correct it. Let's say set of operations types data definition message. Right, message definition. Okay, so maybe this is a better option. So first of all is message. In abstract definition of data being communicated in the example, message contains just one part, response which is of type string. So if you will look at this, where is that? Yeah, here message. Okay, so data which is being transmitted is of type person object. Can you see here, Kirti? The object
Yes.
is getting transmitted. So we send request as an XML, but it is of object type, right? And the
Yeah.
response also we get as either a boolean, right, when it is a true or a false, isn't it? So let me just
Yes.
here. So it is basically the data which is being communicated, moving back and forth between the client and the server. In the example, message contains just one part, response, which is of type string. Okay, where string is defined in XML schema. So if you will see that there are different options of messages. This is one message is this person. Why? Because when we send the data as an XML, that is a person. Remember when we send add user or add person, yes, this is a person object which is getting transmitted. Yes. Another one
Yeah.
is for this we get a response boolean when it is successfully added, right? We
Yes.
tend to get the boolean value as true and false. When you are deleting, it will give you an integer value. Or sorry, when you are deleting, you pass integer value of the person. So let's say ID is 100. When I'm deleting, I pass 100 here, right? So this is the int value I'm passing here, int value as an argument, and the response I get boolean, whether it is a success or a failure, isn't it? Similarly,
Yeah.
get person, I say pass the integer value, and in that I get the response as a person. And when I say get all person, I'll get an array of persons, right? We saw multiple items, isn't it?
Mm.
So that is the message. Then we have operation. So in the operation, let's search for operation. So these are the operations that are available. Add person is there, delete is there, get person is there, right? These are the available operations. Then what is the port type? Port type is, okay, so port type, an abstract set of operations supported by one or more endpoints. So these are all the possible operations which are allowed, right? Port type, name of the service is this, and these are the possible operations, right?
Yeah.
Kirti, Shilpi, and others, right? So these are the, this is a port type. Then what is a binding? Binding is basically, so describes how the operation is invoked by specifying concrete protocol in the data format. Now, if you will see, in the binding, I'm using RPC. RPC is remote procedure call. So basically, it is to do with the kind of web services. There are two kind of SOAP web services. One is RPC and one is document. So it tells you what is the kind of binding that is there between for the communication to happen, right? Then what is a port? So port is basically, if you will read here, specifies an endpoint as an address of the binding, right? So here, this is the endpoint. Remember, when we run the code, if you will go here, this is the same URL, right? Can you see here?
Yeah.
Smita, Anamika, Manjari, Sandeep, right? So this is the port, and then eventually service is there. So specifies the port addresses of the binding. So if you will go here, services has, where is the services? Yeah, so it specifies the URL with the port and other stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then last one
So,
was
Naresh, quick question.
yeah.
So, what is the difference between the WSDL and endpoint?
Okay, WSDL. Okay, endpoint. Yeah. Okay, good question. So endpoint is the URL which you type to access a resource. Okay. Now, what is WSDL? So let's say you are a company and you write a web service, right? You are in a bank, for example, and your bank is going to expose a functionality by using web services. So you sell a product and sell it through web services, the functionalities. Now, how do I know of that details? For that, you will give me a URL of WSDL. Okay, I'll type that WSDL, and in that WSDL, I'll have all these details. This WSDL contains an endpoint. So when you type a URL, it is actually endpoint. Endpoint, what is endpoint in web services? So for a better definition, let's ask Google. So endpoint is an entity, processor, or a resource that can be referenced and to which web services message can be addressed. So this is which can be referenced. So when I type a URL in my browser, it redirects me to a specific resource. That is an endpoint for me. Clear, Namika?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So currently, like whatever WSDL you copied over there, so it has endpoint as well, right?
Yes, it has the endpoints which we can hit to invoke a particular web service. Yes, that is right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so as endpoint references convey the information needed to address a endpoint web service endpoint. Client needs to know this information because before they can access a service, right?
Okay.
So that was regarding the WSDL. So Smita, are you trying to ask some question? There is some echo. If you can type your question, please. Okay, so that was regarding the WSDL. Then I left one of this here. Which one was that? Yeah, the first one here. Where is that called? Yeah, this one, types. So it provides the information about complex data types used in WSDL. When simple types are used, the document does not need to have type section. Okay, so if you will go here, it has a type definition. What is a complex data type? Complex data type is like when you are transmitting a person object, right? It is a complex data type. Complex data type is a combination of other data, simple data like integer, float, and all that. Okay, so type information is basically the data type information which is available and being transmitted. So truly speaking, you might never have to read this SOAP by WSDL by yourself, but basic idea of this would definitely help. I mean, you can always make use of SOAP UI to convert it into this format as you see here, but it always makes sense if you have a little idea about what is a WSDL and what all it contains. Fine, guys, girls, is it clear? Is there any question I can take from anyone? Smita, Anamika, Manjari, Shilpi. Smita, you will have to type. Smita, there is some lot of disturbance when you are speaking. Maybe we can have a session separately, Smita, and see what is the problem in your end. But if you can type, if there is any question. So, are we good? Kirti, Anamika, Manjari, Sandeep,
Yes.
Shilpi?
Yes.
Any doubts?
Yes, fine.
Okay. Okay, so what we will do is we will wind up our session for today. That's all we will do. At least I will expect you people to do the setup as I have done on Kirti's machine, so that I mean it's not a lot to get started with, but at least it's a beginning. Henceforth, we'll have more exercises to be done, and I will also start giving you some assignments which you can start working on. But before we meet for the next session, I hope you will have all the things downloaded, uh, the tools, install them, and if anybody has a problem, we will discuss it on the chat and set up a half an hour discussion session so that you have all your machines in place and ready so that you can start using them before the next class. Is that fair
Oh,
enough, guys, girls?
yeah.
Yeah. So if you have any further questions, please ask your questions. Otherwise, we can wind up for the day. And I'll share the recording with you on YouTube in some time. You can go through the recording as well.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, then I'll put the recording for you. Thank you for your time. I will see you next weekend. If you have a problem in between on a weekday, you can reach out to me and we can schedule a meeting and help you solve the problem. Okay, thank you for your time. I will see
Thank
you
you.
next week. Hope you practice. Thank you so much.
Thanks.